Everybody, it's Wanda Baader here from Strategize Your Success, and together with my co-host Cynthia Bazin from Smart Chick, we are Hot Tips for Biz, here every Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, bringing you the best people in business. So to start us off, I'm going to go ahead and give it to Cynthia.
Hi everyone, again Cynthia Bazin from Smart Chick. Thank you so much for joining us live or catching us on the replay for Hot Tips for Biz. I am so excited to have guest expert Doug Dickerson with us today, and also our guest host Tisha Lee of Tisha Saves Time. So without further ado, because this is a really quick show, 30 minutes long, I want to bring on our guest expert Doug Dickerson of dougdickerson.wordpress.com. Hi, Doug. How are you today?
Great, Cynthia. Thank you.
Hey.
Delighted to be with you today.
You know what? We are so thrilled to have you here, and we've got such a great topic that you're going to be discussing some points with us on today about the 4 things that employees don't need from you. But before we get started on those points, I'd love for you to tell the audience a little bit about yourself, your business, a little bit about your background.
Sure. Well, thank you once again. Former life, I was in ministry and hospital chaplaincy. I taught school for many years, and so I take a little bit of both backgrounds, mesh them together, and now I write books and go out and speak and do workshops and seminars and write for newspapers and business journals, magazines. So that is kind of the background and the experience that I bring to the table when I talk about leadership and when I talk about workplace environments and company culture and all that kind of stuff. Once I think it was John Maxwell that once said, if you can lead a group of volunteers, you can lead anybody. So I take part of that experience and bring it to the table in business, and it's an exciting journey.
Well, I'm so excited for you to be here today. We've been connected for a long time, and we've done some things together. So for the audience that's meeting Doug for the first time, he is super high quality. He's got some amazing books that he's written. So be sure to go to his website at dougdickerson.wordpress.com. Okay, I think we really need to get rocking and rolling on this subject, that the 4 things employees don't need from you. And the first point we'd like to talk about is about attitudes. And we've talked a lot about this before, Doug, about how positive attitudes are contagious. Positive attitudes and negative ones. So why don't we start there?
Okay, that's a great place to start. And attitude is so important, Cynthia. I know I'm singing to the choir when I talk to you about this because you are the go-to person for positive attitude. But John Maxwell says that leadership is influence, and as a leader in your organization, your attitude is influential on everyone else. So just as much as a positive attitude is contagious, so is a negative one. So it's important for you as a leader, as an employer, we're talking about that workplace environment, for you to have a positive attitude, because if all you do as an employer, as a boss, is go around and look for the bad, find the bad, point out the bad, talk about, and spread a negative type attitude throughout the organization, that's what people are going to latch on to. So a lot of people complain, well, my people have a bad attitude, they have this, they have that. Well, my suggestion might be, look in the mirror. Where do they get that from? Come on. So, it's important that we have a positive attitude, because it's going to make or break what takes place in that organization. Zig Ziglar said that it is your attitude, not your aptitude, that's going to determine your altitude. So how high, how far you go as a person, and how high and far you go as an organization is all about the attitude that you have as a leader, and that's why it's so important.
Yep. You know what, and you're speaking my language, Doug, with those quotes. You know how much I love quotes, so that's perfect. And these seem so simple, but you know what, we have to put ourselves in check sometimes, because we get so busy in our days, sometimes we don't recognize, what we're putting out there to our employees, team members, whatever you call them. So, Wanda, I can see that you're resonating with this. Throw your thoughts out there.
Well, I used to work for corporate America and worked for 2 Fortune 500 companies, and I had people underneath me, and people always respond better to the positive than they do to the negative, and just have to watch how you say things to people and try to approach it on a positive note, like you were saying.
Yeah. Well, Wanda, one of the things that you've experienced, I know you have working in Fortune 500 companies. Cynthia, I know you deal with this with the clients you deal with. But you can take a team of people, okay, that have a certain level of expertise, skill sets. They have the resources that they need in order to properly function in their job and by all standards be successful, okay? And they have every tool that they need, every resource they need, and they have that in place in order to be successful. But the one thing that will always trip them up and hold them back is a bad attitude. So, the flip side can be true, okay? A team with less resources, a team with less skill, a team with, in terms of matrix of what is necessary for success by any standard, they can have less of it. But with a positive attitude, they can outperform the other team. So at the end of the day, how high and far you go is always going to rest upon the type of attitude that you have, and the attitude flows from the top down. And
Doug, let me stop you right here for 1 second, because I want to get Tisha in on this conversation. Is that, in your experience and work as far as attitude, would you rather have somebody with a positive attitude and less skills, or all the skills in the world but a bad attitude?
It's funny that you just asked me to chime in, because I wasn't even thinking like in my VA business. I was thinking the first thing that popped into my head was Facebook. And I used to be, oh my gosh, like the biggest complainer in the world. So, and it's horrible that I'm admitting it, but it's been pointed out to me so much that people had stopped following me on Facebook because I was not being positive at all. And as a business owner, trying to bring in clients, that had started affecting people not wanting to work with me. So, I just think about even now, I have unfollowed people that are constantly, because I'm not complaining as much, I'm very aware of the people around me. And it's just, life is so much better for me personally, so I'm sure probably for other people, when you're not complaining, it's you're just happy. And I've noticed that, the more positive stuff I'm putting on Facebook, the more positivity I'm bringing into my life. So even as an online business owner, being positive or versus being negative can really have an impact. I love this topic, Doug.
Thank you.
All right. You know what? Let's keep it positive. All right. Let's go to Wanda. Let's go to the next point in this great conversation with Doug Dickerson at dougdickerson.wordpress.com.
Yes, Doug. Now, we want to talk about what you said about in your points that you want to discuss today about making sure that you appreciate, value the people that work for you. And keeping that, that's part of that positive attitude I'm sure that you're talking about, is making sure that people know that they're truly appreciated.
Yes.
Whether, like in our business, whether they're a subcontractor or whether they're an employee.
Right, absolutely. So when we're talking about the things that your employees don't need from you, first of all, it's that negative attitude. Second thing is your indifference, okay? And here's the point, Wanda. Everyone wants to be appreciated. They want to be valued. They want to believe that their work matters and what they're doing is making a difference, right? So if you come across as being indifferent to their work, you come across indifferent to their ideas, their contributions, what they're trying to do to make that organization better, then you are sending the signals that their work is not important, that what they have to contribute is not important. And I've often said this, that oftentimes the best ideas don't flow out of your office, they flow into it. Right? So, and that happens when you have an open mind to ideas. Who better knows what is the pulse of that organization, that business, than the people on the front lines. And so if you are closed off, if you are closed off to hearing the ideas and the suggestions of your people who bring their concerns to you, if you are indifferent to what they have to offer and what they have to say, then that is going to create that negative environment that's going to be hard to overcome, because eventually they're going to come to that place and say, really, what's the use of going to this person? What's the point? Because they're not going to listen anyway. And so you don't want to demoralize your team. You don't want to put them in a place where they feel like what they have to offer and what they want to contribute is of no value. So this is so important in terms of coming across and not just paying lip service to the people in your organization, but to truly be engaged with them, building that relationship, having that relational chemistry with them, so that everyone feels a part, feels like they belong, feels like they have skin in the game, and they have a stake in what's taking place, and they want to build it together with you.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to ask Tisha a question. As a virtual assistant, you work with many bosses, I guess you could say. So what is it that you like when you're working with somebody to kind of create that team spirit between you and, let's say, your coach, or I should say somebody who has a coaching business or who has an online business of sorts? What makes you feel that you're getting your 2 cents into trying to make things work better for everybody?
I like it when my clients listen to ideas. Like you said in the beginning, I've been a virtual assistant for a long time. I've been doing it since 2006. So I have a lot of experience, and there's systems that I know of that maybe a client doesn't know of. And I don't want to be just viewed as, okay, I'm throwing off things that I don't want to do in my business to her, she'll take care of it. I want to be viewed as I'm part of your business. So when I'm working with somebody, I want to feel that, they're going to respect, and they don't have to, listen, or they should listen to things that I say. They don't necessarily have to do it. But it just makes me feel important and like I matter when they listen to ideas that I have. And, of course, I love it when we end up doing an idea that I had.
Yeah, great. Awesome feedback, because nowadays we're building virtual teams as well as having employees. So
absolutely.
Great points there, Tisha. Great points. What
Can
about
I
you?
one more thought here?
What's that?
Can I interject one more thought?
Oh, definitely.
Okay. Good. We're talking about this indifference, and I really want to crystallize this point if I can. If you place no value in your people, so the question is this: if you place no value in your people, then how can you expect them to place value in their work? Okay?
Absolutely.
So, indifference. So here's the thought: indifference breeds indifference. And the results can be devastating. So, if you place no value in your people, how can they place value in their work? It's just that simple, and it's just that devastating if it's not happening.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Cynthia, I know that you have a virtual team as well. What do you do to encourage people to empower them with the things that they do for you?
Well, actually, I wonder if I could say something a little bit different, because I've got a unique twist on this. Is from my corporate life, if you don't mind, because coming from the security and the investigations industry for 21 years, I just want to say that not saying anything to your employees is just as devastating as demoralizing them. And what I mean by that is, in the security and investigations industry, teams are not revenue-generating people. So the only time they get recognition is when something goes bad. If a security officer, an investigation goes bad, you get noticed. But those people day to day, they're doing their jobs, and they don't get recognized for just doing their job and doing the right thing. So it's really important in how I go about my business now, and in consulting for the investigation industries too, is, recognizing those little things that people do every single day, and just saying thank you. And great job on keeping everybody safe today. You know what I mean? Just those little things of recognition make all the difference.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. Yeah.
Well, I know that Tisha wants to ask a question on your third point. Tisha, go ahead and let us know what that one is.
All right. So, Doug, one of the things that you wanted to talk to us and our listeners about was how your leadership style can either facilitate the progress of your people or it can stand in the way. So would you tell us, what do you mean about standing in the way of people as a leader?
That's such a good point, and it's one of my favorite ones, actually, because what you want to do is empower your people. And sometimes I wrote about delegation this past week, and it kind of ties in with that, because what you really want to do is just turn your people loose, empower them, trust them to do what you hired them to do, and believe that they can do it. And sometimes employers, be it micromanaging, be it just unnecessary burdens of regulation and policies and just piling on, that inhibits or gets in the way of the flow of work. Sometimes it can be something simple as an unscheduled interruption coming into the office, or phone calls at calling meetings at inappropriate times, or seemingly with no agenda, going nowhere. Peter Drucker said people that enjoy meetings should not be put in charge of anything. So, it's just things like this that we can impede the flow of the work and the progress of what's taking place just by things that oftentimes is simply a result of poor time management on the part of the boss of the employer. So your people want to work, they want to be productive, they want to make things happen, and sometimes our own worst enemy is someone that is just standing in the way of it. I love what Howard Behar, who was the former president of Starbucks International, he wrote in a book he writes about this, and I take the liberty here for just a moment to share part of this because I think it's so important to get this. But he says, our mission is to empower each person to bring his or her unique perspective and skills to the job. We want people to take charge instead of blindly following a rigid set of instructions from a rule book. And so what he's advocating here is a recipe book, not a rule book. Okay? A recipe book, not a rule book. So when you're talking about empowering your people and setting them up for success, at the end of the day, really what is going to empower them for success more? A big old rule book or a recipe book? So I want to communicate to employers that your people don't need, big old giant rule book. They need recipes for success. And part of the recipe for success, you talk about, making your favorite dish or whatever. You talk about recipes and what to put in. I think sometimes with employers, it's about what to take out. Get out of the way, out of the way, let them work, empower them, trust them, turn them loose, and let them get the job done. So I think sometimes it might be unintentional, and perhaps a lot of times it is, but sometimes those obstructions can hurt more than they can help. And I think sometimes the best thing to do is just get out of the way, trust your people, empower them, turn them loose, let them work, let them do what they do best, and they can get the job done.
I love it. I don't know if there's anything that I can add to that, Doug, other than, let your people do what they were paid for and be there as the resource, the guide, the mentor that you're supposed to be. You're not supposed to be doing their job. Let them do their job. So that's my point.
Well, sometimes we refer to it sometimes, Cynthia, as the tyranny of the urgent. It's like, oh my gosh, we got to go do this. We got to do it right now. And it's like, if you just take a step back and pause and think, maybe this can wait till tomorrow. Doesn't have to happen right now. And that's okay. That's okay. So, sometimes we we just make things worse just by, that need to be urgent.
Right.
At the end of the day, it's not as urgent as we thought it was. That's all.
Tisha or Wanda, any thoughts on what Doug has to say? I think Doug is talking, but I can't hear him at the moment.
No, I'm pausing for.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Go ahead, Wanda. Sorry.
Go ahead, Tisha.
I was chuckling when he used the word micromanage because as a virtual assistant, people come to me because they either don't know how to do something, they don't have the time to do something, but then they want to micromanage every single little detail. And that ends up frustrating me because I like to be able to, like I said, I've been a virtual assistant for a long time. So, a lot of the stuff I do, I could do in my sleep because I've been doing it so long. So step back, trust me, let me do what I have the skills to do, and you go focus on, something that you're better at. So, yeah, just like one of my biggest pet peeves as a virtual assistant is that micromanaging every little detail.
Yeah, well, it's part of the and I've written about this as well. You had the visionary leader, okay, that can cast the vision and see what you don't see, and here's where we're going and all that. Then you have the people that actually do it, and you know what I'm talking about, Tisha. So you have those two people, and how they learn how to coexist is real chemistry that has to be worked on, because you need the visionary, obviously, for direction and understanding where you're going as a business. But then you need those that can execute it and make it happen and make that vision, turn it into a reality. And so it's a fine line of balance between the two in terms of helping the visionary understand that the best thing you can do now that you've imparted the vision to us and we know where we're going, now the best thing you can do is get out of the way and let us do it. But it can be kind of entertaining at times because you need both. That's the bottom line. You need both.
Yeah.
Both are so very important. But
Wanda, do you have don't mean to interrupt you, Doug. Wanda, any thoughts on this before we move on to our next point?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's we're a boutique marketing agency, and as an agency, we bring a lot of talents to the table. People like Tisha, and the thing is that we have to get our clients to realize that they have to kind of relinquish a certain amount of that power of the direction things are going to have to go into, for me as the coach and the consultant, saying, this is our experience, this is what, I see your vision, this is how we could try to approach it. And then I also have to relinquish to the people that do what they do best for me every day. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a give and take all the way through the process. Sure. So I can appreciate what you're saying.
Yeah.
Perfect. Mm-hmm. Well, you know what? For anybody who's just joining us or catching on the replay, I would want to say on behalf of my co-host Wanda Baader and I, welcome to Hot Tips for Biz. We have a fabulous guest expert today, Doug Dickerson of dougdickerson.wordpress.com, and as our guest host, we have Tisha Lee of TishaSavesTime.com. You got to check out their websites after this broadcast ends. We have one more point. This half hour is flying by, so Doug, we're going to get right to it, okay? Talk about the importance of consistency. Is that and how inconsistencies can be really noticed, and people might not, bring it up, but they do notice.
Well, here's the thought, Cynthia. Inconsistent actions by management are always going to send the wrong message. When you communicate one thing and you do another, then you have planted seeds of doubt and mistrust in the minds of your people, and that's never a good thing. And your employees don't need mixed messages. They need consistent messages, consistent communication. And when they're not getting that, it only creates more doubt and mistrust and misunderstandings that can take place. a really interesting survey I came across not too long ago from the American Psychological Association. They do the work and well-being surveys, and a recent survey they did concluded that about 70% of employees are satisfied in their places of work. But you drill down into those numbers, and what they have found out can be rather revealing. More than half feel like their employer isn't open and upfront. Another third feel that their organization isn't always honest and truthful. And 1 in 4 say they don't trust their employer at all. And that's the big deal. And so when we talk about inconsistencies, what we have to also acknowledge is the side effects from that, the fallout from that can be really difficult for organization to recover from. And so as a leader, that's why it's so important that you are consistent in your message, consistent in your communication, and that is being conveyed properly, because your people are drifting, and there's no sense of security and knowing where we're going and the purpose behind the things that we're doing. And so mixed messages is going to create the kind of an environment that you want to avoid. Okay. So
great points, Doug. You know, for me, just one word comes out for me just from working with lots of different people. Oh, sorry. I thought Doug was talking, but it's hard. I don't hear him. But just the word respect comes out to me. Is that I might not agree with how you do your business and that sort of thing, but I respect you if you're consistent in your message. So that's what comes out for me.
Absolutely.
Wanda, what are your thoughts when you hear the word or inconsistency or consistency? What comes to mind?
Well, it's really hard when you're working with somebody who is inconsistent and is constantly changing their mind, because you don't know how to help them. Is the first thing that comes to my mind as a business owner. It's like, I want to help you, that's what I'm here for. But if you're constantly changing the agenda, how can we make that happen if we're always starting, back at number 1 when we thought we were at number 4?
Tisha, any quick thoughts? This show needs to wrap up in a couple minutes. I want to give some time for Doug to tell us what's next. So any thoughts about the inconsistency? I'm sure you might get that at times in your business.
Oh, yes, and I was probably nodding my head as Wanda was talking. It's very frustrating, when somebody hires me to do something, but like Wanda was saying, if we're constantly back at step number 1 when we should be on, 5 or something, so it makes it hard to complete things. And I am the type of person that I have a daily to-do list, and I like crossing things off. So when I have to carry stuff over, like from, one day to the next, to the next, to the next, that's frustrating for me as a virtual assistant. So yeah, definitely the inconsistency it makes it difficult, like Wanda was saying.
Great thoughts, Tisha. Doug, we only have like 2 minutes left of the program, so I want you to tell the audience what is next for you. What are you working on? Some exciting projects?
Okay, well, thank you once again, Cynthia and Wanda and Tisha. Real delight to be with you. This has been so much fun, and I thank you for the opportunity to be with you today. What's next for me? I have a brand new book that's fixing to be released very shortly. I don't have that date yet, but it's all finished. It's entitled "It Only Takes a Minute: Daily Inspiration for Leaders on the Move." It's a 365 daily read on leadership, motivational leadership. It opens up with just a quote from a current, former thought leader, whoever, and a paragraph, short little paragraph of inspiration and motivation to get you going on your day, and that is due out here real soon, coming out from Motivational Press, and I will have, of course, more information on that as time gets close, but probably within the next month or so it's coming out. One of the things that we're doing also, we will continue this upcoming school year with my first book, Leaders Without Borders. We do a leadership and education initiative, and we take that book into schools for teachers. We partner it with businesses that kind of share the vision of leadership, and we're looking to hopefully expand that in the upcoming school year. Curriculum's being developed for it. So a lot of exciting things going on with that, and with the new book, and work in the schools, and just a lot of neat things like that going on. Of course, the weekly column that I write for my blog and for the various newspapers and business journals, that will continue, of course. But really excited about the launch of the new book. That's kind of where the focus is right now, and very excited about that.
Awesome, Doug. Well, on behalf of me, thank you so much for coming on today. I'm going to pass it over to Wanda to close out the show.
Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Thank you, Doug. Thank you, Tisha, for being on the show. Great conversation. I'm sure that a lot of people will get a lot of value from what you had to talk about today. And we are here every Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we hope you join us next week. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Bye now. Thanks, Doug.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Bye. This was great.
Tisha.